how is everybody doing? In this video, I'm going to talk about the Beach Boys and their incredible music and the genius of Brian Wilson. But the real reason for this video and this talk is how I got into the Beach Boys and how their music actually changed my whole outlook on music when I was young. By the way, off topic, rabbits, I mean, you see pictures and cartoons and books that they're obsessed with carrots. They're not. They're obsessed with bananas. All right? All right, baby? Yeah? Okay. She likes the Beach Boys too, by the way, because they've been on non-stop for the last 4 weeks. Anyway, let's cut to the chase and get on with it. In 1982, I was at my uncle's house, and I was babysitting. You know, you mind the kids in the house while they go to the pub. I know it sounds like something from, like, you know, another time. But anyway, I'm sure lots of people did it. So stop biting my jacket, please. So, you know, it was 9 o'clock at night. They were gonna out. The kids were in bed, or the kid, and he just said, "Look, do you want to watch some music videos and stuff?" You know, because TV would be kind of boring, politics and news and stuff like that. So he stuck on a VHS cassette, and anyway, the first thing on the cassette was Simon and Garfunkel in Central Park, the 1981 concert. So I watched all that, and I've always liked Paul Simon's music growing up. It was always a part of my childhood listening, just because it was on the radio. Me and Julio, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. I loved the lyrics to that when I was about 5 or 6. Slip Sliding Away. List goes on. It was music that I just loved straight off. Quirky. Didn't really know much about him and stuff like that, but I heard him, you know, all the time when I was young. But the concert in Central Park is fantastic. It's more or less a greatest hits, and then you've got some Paul Simon solo stuff as well. And the band are fantastic. Anyway, I'm sure you all know about that. If not, just go out and buy the DVD. Just watch it on YouTube. It's fantastic. So, the next part of the, once that program ended, the next thing on the tape was the Beach Boys 20th anniversary documentary. I think it was from 1981. So I was watching that, and it showed all the black and white footage from the 60s, all the way from the surfing stuff through to the car music, then the more mature stuff, Pet Sounds, and then after that, things like when they weren't as popular, and early 70s stuff. And then it showed them another concert in DC, 1980, and I was just fascinated and hooked. As the cassette rolled on, that concert ended, and then there was some British stuff, Joe Cocker, the Beatles, I think, the Kinks, Plastic Man, I remember that sticking out, and the Stones, I think, as well, I can't remember, but that kind of stuff. And that whole 3-hour video cassette just changed my life completely, because after hearing that music, which was more serious music, I mean, Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon is serious music, Beach Boys is serious music, I was just, you know, absolutely hooked. I had to get more of it. Like, so, you know, 1983 rolled on. I'm still only, 14. Every time I went out there, I watched the that same videotape. Oh, can I watch the one with Central Park? You know, blah blah. So I'd say I must have saw that cassette maybe 4 or 5 times. It was enough that I eventually knew all the songs. I probably rewinded pieces as well. I can definitely remember pressing the buttons on the top loader. You know what I mean? It was lights there was lights inside. You could see the tape going around. It was fascinating. And it was a Nord Minde or Grundig VCR, and they were very expensive back then. But anyway, that was it for me. I was after being baptized with really good music. So the music stuck in my head. 1983 rolled on, and between Christmas and the New Year, 1984, Dennis Wilson passed away, and I remember him from the documentaries, the beard, and he was sitting by boats and stuff like that. And I remember that affecting me. It was kind of, I'm not saying it would drastically affect me, but I thought all of a sudden a group that I really liked, all of a sudden somebody in that group had died. And now he was kind of gone from them, I think by 82 or 83, I'm not sure. He was kind of he had personal problems, and he was kind of on a how do I say, he was running amok, unfortunately. But I heard in 1980 Leg Lennon had died and stuff like that. That was tragic as well. But I wasn't really, I'd heard the Beatles all through the 70s and stuff like that. But the Beach Boys really grabbed me. I don't know why. It was just, they really grabbed. The stuff was very accessible. I think the vocals on it as well. The melodies, Brian Wilson was incredible. His writing, his melodies, and his way he composed songs was incredible. And I remember then, I think around Easter, 1984, I was at another cousin's house, and they had the Beach Boys, the best of the Beach Boys, the UK pressing of that 1966, I think 67 LP, and that had stuff from Pet Sounds on it as well. Sloop John B, God Only Knows. And I remember God Only Knows, I was just fascinated with it. It was just like, it almost felt like it was a spiritual song. Somebody saying God only knows what I'd be. It was like, it was somebody kind of acknowledging to something greater in his life, whether it was a woman or whether it was God and stuff like that. And it was kind of humbling as well, stuff like that. And the melody on it, and California Girls, I really, really loved that, especially the intro. And it was like, I just played that over and over, and I was kind of hooked. And that was, but the song was so good, Help Me Rhonda, Fun. Barbara Ann, You're So Good to Me. And then the other one, what was the one, Surfing USA? That was a fantastic track. I remember actually, one time I was in a friend's house, and I was standing up in their garden shed, and I was pretending I was the Beach Boys. I was doing all the kind of, I'd announce it saying, America's main event. And they'd be saying, come on down, and I'd have a tennis racket. And I was going, if everybody, I start singing the songs and stuff. And then, for Good Vibrations, in the 1980 concert, the crowd, there's a crowd part when they're trying to get the crowd going. And he goes from the ladies, from the men, he goes singing the refrain, the quiet part of the song. And Dennis is kind of going, come on, and I was doing all the voices. Oh my God, it was really funny. I think another song I was doing at the time then on the roof was Elvis is Alive, Elvis is Alive, and they were saying, will you shut the hell up and get out of my house? But kind of, the 80s was an exciting time because I was only young. I mean, like by 85 I was after getting into Queen, love Queen. But funny enough, Queen 2, the song Fort of the Sun, there's a part in that, and it's a definite nod to the Beach Boys. There's all the orchestrated voices and the kind of, you can hear the ba ba ba, just like Mike Love used to do. As well as that on Queen 2, you've Funny How Love Is. There's kind of a Phil Spector thing going through that song, and again, Brian Wilson was a massive fan of Phil Spector in the Wall of Sound. And funny enough, before Queen were formed, there was a single released with Freddie Mercury singing, Larry Lurik's, I Can Hear Music. again, Beach Boys covered that, or they wrote it. I just at this second I can't think I can hear music. Was it a cover of a Phil Spector song? And Going Back, that was on it as well, and that's been released over the last 20 something years. But yeah, so like the Beach Boys did play on Live Aid as well. I must add, in '85, but the albums became sparser, as the '80s went on. I think there's one from '85, which was kind of a contemporary sounding at the time. It's a bit click clack and stuff. Yeah, it's not bad. There's songs written by other people as well on it, like Culture Club by George, and there's one by Stevie Wonder. It's actually not bad. It's a good one. But yeah, they kind of, the thing is, they started off doing the surfing music, then there's the car stuff, and then there was the mature music today, and then Pet Sounds. And then after that, Brian Wilson was working on Smile, and then that was fantastic, but it all fell apart. And there was competition with the Beatles and stuff as well, which I'm not going to go into. And yeah, it was fascinating. But after that, Wild Honey came along, and Friends, and then Sunshine and Surf's Up and stuff like that. And there was, as the 70s went on, the albums kind of, got a bit hodgepodge and stuff like that. And by 1980, the band were touring. They were a big attraction touring, but their studio albums, had a lot to be desired. The critics kind of, they weren't strong albums by any means, but there's still interesting stuff there. When Brian Wilson was involved, the stuff was fantastic. When he wasn't, it wasn't as good. But that's it really. They kind of kept going as a live act, but Brian Wilson, had given up touring for a long time back in the mid-60s. But Smile eventually came along in 2004, and I remember buying that back then. And also I had the greatest hits, and I think I bought Pet Sounds definitely back in 1995. I think it was in a newspaper saying it was the best album ever recorded, the best album of all time. It's one of them, I've always thought, they always said that, like, the Beach Boys or the Beatles, which are better, whatever. They're both excellent, but I think the Beach Boys fragmented their own legacy. Brian Wilson had mental issues and anxiety issues and stuff like that, but I'm not going to really go into that because I'm not a giant on it. But I think that the Beatles are more, how will I put it, from their rise in the 60s until 1970 or whatever, when they split up, there's kind of a big curve going up, and that's it. Whereas the Beach Boys kind of went up to a curve and then went back down, and they kept going down and kept going down. Now, if the Beatles kept going through the 70s, I mean, what would have happened? I guess we would have had the solo McCartney stuff that turned into Wings, and the Lennon stuff would have been the albums, you know what I mean? I often thought about doing, kind of a documentary about what happened if the Beatles kept going. But again, I wouldn't be an intellectual giant on the Beatles. I have all their stuff. I love their music. But the thing is, yeah, it would be interesting to come up with album artwork and stuff. I'm sure somebody's done it, about what it would have been really like. And if Lennon didn't end up getting assassinated, what would it have been like if they actually did perform in Live Aid? I suppose, if he didn't die, it would have been a tragedy. And I guess, they would have been just another band on Live Aid, just like The Who, and just like other bands from the 60s, really. I mean, we all look back with Rose to the Spectacles and stuff like that, What Ifs and stuff. But yeah, Smile, anyway, is fantastic. And I remember buying it in '04, and I just kept listening to it and listening to it and listening to it. I couldn't get enough of it. And yeah, that was it really for a long, long time. It was, greatest hits, pop them on, enjoyed all the songs. But it's only about a month ago I dug Smile back out, and then it was like, wow, listened to it a few times again, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I love it. Some people probably would think it was a bit kind of strange and stuff. The lyrics are a bit, what do they mean? They don't really mean anything, but they still sound fantastic. And you can listen to them over and over and over again, and they still sound fantastic. Not like other albums and other lyrics where it's just lines and stuff. Van Dyke's Park's lyrics are very colourful, and they're very operatic almost, you know what I mean? They're fantastic, But that was it, yeah. And about a month ago, I started listening to that non-stop, and then I decided, okay, that's it. I'll have to reinvestigate. So I more or less in the last month, I've bought nearly every Beach Boys album on secondhand marketplaces online, and they were very cheap, €3 or €4 each. Most of them are twofers, you know, the remasters from 1990 and 2000 and stuff like that, or 2001. There's a few I don't have, you know. There's one from 1989 and there's one from 1992. It's supposed to be terrible, so I didn't get them. But I bought the one from 2012. That's Why God Made the Radio, and that is absolutely fantastic. It really is good. It's pretty commercial sounding, but it's after 4 or 5 listens now I can't stop getting the song. I can't get the songs out of my head. Really, really nice. I love it. And there's nice topics in it as well. You know, about the private life of, is it Bill and Sue, or, you know, it's about reality TV and people showing you their houses and stuff like on the internet and stuff like that. It's the big thing for the last 20 years. But yeah, Brian Wilson, you know, like, he's incredible. It's just indescribable, really. You know, his music must have brought so much joy to so many people. It's just incredible. It really is incredible. And I just don't think I'd ever get sick of listening to it. I love Surf's Up. That song is, I think I've been singing Surf's Up when I'm out walking and around the house and stuff like that for about 3 weeks solid now. Yeah, it's addictive. It's just the way. Yeah, you just, if you only have, say, passing interest in the Beach Boys or Beach Boys Greatest Hits, just go and get some of their, buy all the best albums, you know, I'd say buy them. And there's a lot of stuff came out in the last few years as well, like in deluxe editions, the Smile sessions came out and stuff like that. And yeah, but reading wise, I bought David Leaf's book, God Only Knows, Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys and the California Myth. It is absolutely fantastic, and I kind of sent him an email a few days ago just telling him that I really appreciate the book and I loved it. But I did say to him as well, how come you didn't mention that about Live Aid on it and stuff? The book was originally published in 1978. He became very good friends with Brian Wilson, and I never knew about David Leaf. I didn't really know much about him. I know he did the sleeve notes for a lot of the Beach Boys catalogue reissues and stuff. Didn't know who he was, but fascinating man as well. Fascinating, has a fascinating story. He's met everybody. One of the luckiest men alive. Yeah, incredible. So that book is absolutely fantastic. Just, yeah, it's been reprinted again last year. It was updated in 1985. Maybe that just happened before the Live Aid thing happened. He said he wasn't at the Live Aid gig. Didn't really give any reasons for why he didn't go to it and stuff like that. It's none of my business really. I just was a bit kind of, yeah, I thought, why, you know, because that was a big, Live Aid was a big deal, you know, and I'm kind of an 80s fanatic as well. The nostalgia burns for the 80s, but you know, that's the thing. I mean, but even in the 80s, that's where the birth of the Beach Boys, the seed was planted, the vision was planted in my brain, as they say. For the Beach Boys, and now, like I said, I've just listened to most, 90% of their output, and it's just incredible music, and yeah, I'm really excited because I know that, you know, I'm just going to keep listening to it forever, you know, and yeah, so there you go. This video is dragging on a little bit, and yeah, I think I've kind of nearly covered everything. So like this, that's how I learned to love the Beach Boys. It's something I wanted to share with people who watch my videos and watch my channel and stuff like that. You know, the influence has always been there, you know what I mean? Yeah, the influence has always been there. I you know, as a musician myself, I've often dabbled into little pieces, and you know, I did a little thing years ago, back in '99, called Lunar Tune. And it's got the typical Brian Wilson rhythm in it, and it's got a glockenspiel and a piano and a nice bass line. You know, it's you know, the God Only Knows style rhythm. So there you go. Okay, so that's it really. I've said everything I need to say, I guess. This video is now going into overtime. My rabbit is eating eating the room. Hoi, 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 hoi. Come up here. Come up here. Anyway, so that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for listening. And feel free to subscribe and take care.